All right, good evening, everybody.
Good
Please
evening,
confirm you
everybody.
can hear me. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, thank you very much. All right, so we're going to start today's session right away. Good evening, everybody. It's an absolute pleasure to welcome you to the Juliana Imam Intellectual Property and Creative Consult Mentorship Program. My name is Udo Victoria Mo. I am a final year law student at the University of Nigeria, and I'll be your moderator for today. Like I said, it's an absolute pleasure to have you on the call. So I would really love us, before we get on to today's mentorship program, I would love us to have a little bit of interaction. So if you could kindly tell me your expectations for today's mentorship program on the group chat, I would really love that. Tell me what you were looking forward to when you saw the flyer that we're starting the Jiipcc mentorship. So just type in a couple of seconds what your expectations were and what you're looking forward to. So I'm waiting for your responses. So please do type in your expectations, your name and your expectations for today's event. Okay, I'm yet to see any message in the chat box. I can see Esther Nicholas, is a blessing of Yanuchu, Linda Ibekwe, Mary Jane, Yusuf Kamilat. Can you type in your expectations for today's event? Or would you love to unmute your mic and tell us your expectations? Can you guys hear me? Can you all hear me, please? Let it not be that the problem is from my end.
Yes, we can hear you.
Yes, Esther Nicholas, I know you can hear me. Yes, beautiful. So I can see the expectations now. Thank you very much for sending it in. Esther says how intellectual property is important for business owners and creatives in Nigeria and the world at large. That's beautiful. Amarachi says, hello, good evening, everyone. I expect to learn more about how IP is used in different sectors and fields. Beautiful. So I'm very optimistic that your expectations will be met today. And so please, just a quick ground rules for today's mentorship program. Please ensure that your mic is muted at all times. If you have any questions, note them in the chat box, or when it's time, we could call you up to ask your questions if you have any for our speakers for today. Thank you very much for joining today's call. So now we're going to do a brief introduction about the Jiipcc and what Jiipcc is all about. So JIIPCC Intellectual Property Mentorship and Internship Program is a quarterly program for students and young professionals across Africa. Mentees are afforded the opportunities to access valuable advice, trainings, network, mentorship, internship, and decision for industry updates from experienced mentors. The program seeks to encourage
continuous training,
development,
development,
and
and
evolution
evolution in Africa
and around the
and
world.
around the world.
You can watch our
You
videos
can
by
watch our
searching
videos
for
by searching for
JIIPCC on
JIIPCC
YouTube and
on
Facebook.
YouTube and Facebook.
JIIPCC.
JIIPCC.
So what then are the
So what
objectives
then are the
of this
objectives
mentorship
of this
program?
mentorship program?
A,
A,
to provide
to
easy access
provide
to
easy access to quality professional guidance,
and
training,
research
and research
materials for students
materials
and
for
young
students and
professionals in
young
Africa.
professionals in Africa.
To facilitate
To
dialogue
facilitate dialogue and network and
experience and less
experience
experienced
and less
practitioners and
experienced practitioners and stakeholders,
to transform
to
mentees
transform
into mentors
and
leaders for the
and
next
leaders for the
generation.
next generation.
And lastly, to
And
facilitate
lastly, to
further
facilitate further
mentorship,
mentorship,
internship, and
scholarship,
job
and job
placements for
placements
the
for
mentees.
the mentees.
So this is
So this
what
is
what JIIPCC is all about.
is
But
all
if you
about.
want to
But
get
if
more
you want to
information
get more
about what we
information
do,
about what we do,
someone just
my
requested
voice
echoing. I believe it's because
I believe it's
the
because
mic is
the
turned
mic
on.
is turned on.
Can you guys hear me now?
Can you guys hear me now?
Beautiful.
Beautiful.
I think that echoing
I
has
think
stopped.
that echoing has stopped.
All right. So to continue in our conversation, this is what the JIIPCC mentorship is all about. So if you have further details about us, you can check JIIPCC on YouTube or on Facebook. Now, to get into the next phase of this program, we're going to have a quick announcement. Please do take notes that there would be a 30-minute one-on-one mentorship with your favorite JIIPCC mentor. So I have been a part of the JIIPCC mentorship program. And I can tell you for one that it's an amazing experience where you get
to learn
different things about intellectual property,
property,
and you get
and
to
you get to
network with
with
thought leaders
thought
in the
leaders in the
intellectual property
property
industry.
industry.
So this is an
So this is an
opportunity to
opportunity
interact
to
one-on-one with these
with these
mentors who will
mentors
come
who
and
will
be
come
teaching
and be
you. It's
teaching
like
you. It's like
having
having
access to
access to the person that
has
has so much knowledge about
these
these
areas.
areas.
So there will be a
So
30
there will
minutes
be a
one-on-one
30 minutes
mentorship
one-on-one
with your
mentorship with
favorite
your favorite
IPC mentor,
mentor,
and
and
the
the
information will be sent
information
to
will be
you
sent to you because you would
have
have
opportunities to get
opportunities to get hacked,
secrets, life lessons, and
secrets,
directions
life
from your
lessons,
favorite
and
mentors
directions from your
on
favorite
any
mentors
aspect
on
of
any
intellectual
aspect of
property
intellectual
where you
property
have any
where you have
confusion.
any.
So did we get that? Are we together? You can type in the chat box that I'm with you, or are we together? Beautiful. Thank you very much. Thank you very much for your responses. Okay, so this is the moment we've been waiting for. I'm going to be reading out our mentors profile, and going to introduce the well-experienced thought leaders who would be speaking to us in today's mentorship program. I can already see one of my favorite mentors, Miss Amusa Shukrat. Miss Amusa taught when I was a GIPCC mentee, and I learned absolutely amazing things from her. And I just so excited to see her in today's
Today's
mentorship
mentorship program.
So I'm going
So
to
I'm
read
going
out
to read out
ticket
profile
for
for
today. The
today.
very
The
first
very first
mentor
mentor
that we are
that we are
having
having
is Miss
Miss
Regina
Regina
Onwumere.
Onwumere.
Regina is a
Regina
senior
is a senior
associate in
associate in
Aluko and
Aluko and
Oyebuki.
Oyebuki.
She has
She
robust
has robust
experience in
experience in
IP
IP
prosecution and
prosecution and related practice,
garnered for
garnered for
years.
years.
Regina is a Harvard
Regina is a Harvard
alumni and
alumni and
graduated from the
graduated from
University
the
of
University of
Nigeria in
Nigeria
with the LLB honors
LLB
in
honors in
2012
2012
and the
and the
Nigerian Law School
Nigerian
in
Law School in
2013.
2013.
Regina was
Regina was
recently
recently
nominated in the
in the
International Trade
International Trade
Association
Association
INTA
INTA
committee.
committee.
Apologies, I had to stop. I think
Apologies,
someone's
I had to
mic
stop. I think
phone, so
someone's
that's
mic
why it's
phone, so
echoing.
that's why it's echoing.
Okay. So in addition to being selected as outstanding patent practitioner in the WIPR Leaders Guide 2021, Regina is extremely passionate about intellectual property law and how intellectual property affects client business. So please let's give a virtual round of applause for Miss Regina. So I'm going to read the next profile, Miss Amosa Shipkarat. So please, I can't see our I can see our virtual round of applause. Thank you very much. So Amosa Shipkarat Modupo Ola. I'm so sorry, my Eva. I'm so sorry, pronounced your name wrongly. He's a proficient consultant, analyst, and educator in the field of intellectual property with public sector experience. She's a member. Okay, no, someone else is I'm not doing that myself. I do believe the echo is somewhere. I do apologize for the echo. Okay, so Mr. Musa is a member of the World Organization Committee and has a master's degree in African University in conjunction with people and the Japan government. She has partaken professional training at the World Intellectual Property Organization, as well as other IP related bodies, and has facilitated numerous intellectual property programs, both online and offline. Shikrat is the educational platform GIN, which facilitates IP awareness and brings the knowledge of intellectual property closer to everyone. In celebration of the 2020 IP Day, she partnered with other stakeholders, five IP and registered them for WIPO advanced courses. Amosa is an accredited agent in the Intellectual Property Office, the Nigerian Copyright Commission, and Design Registry, and her expertise are trademark, patent, industrial design, copyright, and trade respectively. So please let's give Miss Amosa Shukar a round of applause. Welcome on board, ma. The next speaker's profile I'm going to read is Mr. Max Ikongbe. Mr. Max is also one of the mentors and I promise you you're going to learn a lot from him today. Max Ikongbe is the founder of Evalu Architects. He worked extensively in the field of arbitration, ICT or technology law, intellectual property. Max is a facilitator on the annual Information Technology and Law course of the Nigerian Institute of Advanced Legal Studies since 2016. He is trained in advanced intellectual property law courses at the World Intellectual Property Academy, and he's an accredited agent in Nigerian trademark and patent registry, and has also conducted IP registration businesses there since 2010. And finally, the next person's profile, or the last mentor for today is Miss Nevana Tork. Entrepreneur intellectual property right and affairs executive, offering 26 years of law firm and in-house corporate experiences combined. She's instrumental in mitigating building organization capacity, driving optimization, and multi-million dollar deals, experience in partnering C-level executives on a wide range of legal, compliance, operational, finance, employment and strategic business matters, expertise in licensing, acquiring and enforcing intellectual property rights related to platforms. She leverages business acumen and legal expertise to drive while resolving complex issues within high energy and fast-paced environment. She has represented clients in commercial litigation, transactional and intellectual property matters across a wide range of industries in the Gulf nation. So these astounding mentors are people who are going to mentor us for today. So please let's give them a virtual round of applause and welcome them on the chat box. So I'm going to hand over to our mentors who will be speaking to us for 10 minutes each to speak to us. And I'm going to begin with Ms. Amusa Shukrat. Over to you, Ma. Thank you very much for joining us today.
Hello, Victoria. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you loud and clear, Ma. Lovely to see you, Ma.
Okay. I hope it's clear.
Yes.
So, where do I start from? I think I have my Oga in the room, Mr. Max. So I'm going to say hello to my Oga first. Mr. Max, I can see you. I'm sending my accolade. And to the mentors, I was thinking we were supposed to take the slide first, but since no slide yet, so I'm just going to say intellectual property revolves around everything we do. Like anywhere we find ourselves in, there's an element of intellectual property, be it as a business or as an individual. There's always an element of intellectual property. So even if you don't intend you doing IP as a professional, it is advisable for you to have an idea of what IP is all about. So at the end of the day, probably you don't eventually infringe on somebody's rights without knowing, or if you need information concerning IP, you can actually have some ideas yourself. So when it comes to IP and business, it actually depends on what exactly you're doing. What type of business are you going into? Are you going into the business as an inventor? Is it as a creative, as a trader, as an entrepreneur? So it depends on which aspect of industry you're going to. You can now link that industry to the type of IP that will protect you in that industry. So I think before we round up, we are going to go say more about IP. So I will give the floor to the other speakers. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much, Ms. Amusa. Okay, so our next mentor is going to address us. So I don't know if Mr. Max is on the call. I don't know if Mr. Max is on the call. He can continue from where Mr. Musa stopped. Okay, so Mr. Musa, please you can carry on with your discussion. I don't think most of our mentors are yet to join. So please you can carry on with your discussion.
Okay, so if we have most of our mentors about to join, is it okay to share a slide just to keep the participants busy?
I believe so. Mr. Hussein, can she share her slide? Mr. Hussein is with us. Yes. So, Mr. Musa. Yes, Mr. Musa, you can go ahead and share your slide now.
Okay. You can please confirm if you can see my slide.
Yes, we can see it well, ma'am.
Okay, so the topic for today is IP and business, if I'm not mistaken, right?
Yes, absolutely.
So intellectual property and business. So the first question you're going to ask yourself is, what is intellectual property and how exactly does it relate with business? So look at the example on what we have on the screen. You can see there are, let's say, two people. There's one saying, I made this, that's Samsung, and the other person is really asking, you made this, and you can see the Apple logo on the other person. So while Samsung is trying to show Apple, I made this, then Apple took it and The next slide, in the next image, you can see Apple is now holding the Samsung phone saying, I made this. And before you know it, Apple has claimed the invention, and you can see Samsung chasing Apple just to get the invention. So this is just a brief explanation. And what this basically means is that the fact that you have an invention or you have an idea, and you are giving that idea to somebody without putting in proper measure to protect that idea, it simply means people can actually make use of that idea and exploit it without your permission. So what we are saying in essence is that without proper protection measure in place, your idea can be replicated by another individual and be used for their own commercial benefits in such a way that you that even made the product or had the idea, you won't even have any benefit from that idea yourself. So what we are saying is you have to protect this idea. But the question is, what am I protecting? What do I have to protect? And why exactly do I have to protect it? And that is where intellectual property comes in. So along with human creativity and inventiveness, intellectual property is all around us, as every product or services that we use in our daily life is a result of a long chain of big or small invention, which are imported by acquisition of intellectual property rights. So on the slide, we can see a ballpoint pen, we can see a pin, and we can see phone. So all of these are inventions, and we all use them in business. So from this ballpoint pen, we all know the name of this ballpoint pen. It's called Big Biro, right? So that Big Biro is what is the brand name for that product, which is big. Then we have our phones. We have different phones. We have Samsung, we have Apple, we have iPhone, and so on and so forth. So all of these things, they have elements of intellectual property in them. But what exactly is intellectual property? So we are saying intellectual property is a type of intangible asset that protects creation of our mind. So this intellectual property is gotten from two main words, intellect and property. So when you bring your intellect and you create something tangible from it, it becomes your property. So that property is a property of your intellect, and that is what intellectual property means, basically. So anything you create from your mind that is original to you and unique is your intellectual property. It could be something as simple as a poem. It could be something as simple as beats, like music beats. It could be something as simple as adding straw to a bottle of water. As long as what you are doing is original, probably is solving a problem, or is adding to the benefit of the economy, you can have your intellectual property protection on it. So what exactly are protected, or what can be protected? So then we go ahead to say that intellectual property, we have tangible property and we have intangible property. So this tangible property are the property that we can carry along, we can move it, you can take it anywhere. But the intangible property, that is where our intellectual property falls in, because we can't see it, we can't hold it, but they actually have value. So now what are these properties? We then go ahead to say we have trademark, we have copyright, we have trade secrets, we have patents, and we have industrial design. Now, each type of intellectual property protects their own specific type of creations. When it comes to trademark, we say trademarks serve as a source identifier. It distinguishes one brand from the other. So we have Pepsi, we have Coca-Cola. When you see Pepsi, what comes to your mind? When you see Coca-Cola, what comes to your mind? In fact, that one is even too much. When you see color yellow, what comes to your mind? Probably MTN. When you see color red, what comes to your mind? Probably Airtel. So you necessarily don't have to see the names of this brand before you can identify them, because their identity speaks for them. So now, when I see Jiipcc, what comes to my mind is Juliana. I necessarily don't have to see Juliana before I know Jiipcc. Do you understand? So your brand name or your trademark, this is your source identifier. It is what distinguishes you in the brand and separates you from your competitors. So that's the type of intellectual property that protects brand name, logo, slogan, colors, and the likes. Now, when it comes to copyright protects literary and artistic work. When I say literary and artistic work, I mean your books, your poem, your photographs, So this definition now, it extends to musical works, sound recording, broadcast, audiovisual works. So all of these works are protected under copyright. So now, if you have a novel and your novel is called, let's say, Be Legal, something like that, the topic of the title of that novel will not be protected by copyright. It will be protected by trademark. But the content of the novel will be protected by copyright. Now, when it comes to trade secrets protect confidential information. It could be something as simple as the list of your customers, where you get your products from. Or maybe as a law student, you're preparing for an exam. Where exactly do you get the content or the materials that you read for exam? That could be your trade secret, because if probably you kind of give your colleagues that website or something, they'll be able to read and probably do well, better than you. So trade secrets are those informations that give you an edge over your competitors or your peers. Then when it comes to patents protect inventions. Inventions that provide a new way of doing something, or they are actually solving a particular problem. So that is what patent protects. Now, industrial design protects a aesthetically pleasing object. That is how beautiful the product is, not the functionality and not the technicality, just the beautification. How beautiful is this product? Oh, I love this phone because it's slim. I love this chair because it's this, is that. I love this car because the light is small, the light is big. Those are just aesthetics, not the functionality or the technicality. Because if you put the engine in a small bum car and you put it in a big bum car, it probably is going to work. So what's protected here is just the design. Then that takes us to the next topic. Why intellectual property? Why do you have to protect your IP? So take, for example, the inventor of a machine, the author of a book, and the person behind a brand. They usually own their work, right? And such ownership attracts certain consequences. So whenever you copy the content of a work, or you use anything that belongs to somebody, then that person is actually getting, and you pay for it, person will actually get a particular percentage of what you paid for. So for example, most people use iPhone, right? And you possibly cannot, you don't have access to music without paying for it. So whenever you pay for those music, a particular percentage of what you pay goes back to the musician or to the person that worked, producer. It just goes back to the person that worked on it, who are the owners of the IP. So you have to have ownership before you can claim that this is yours. And when it comes to all of these types of IP, there is a criteria before you can say you have a trademark. There's a criteria to be met before you can say, oh, this work is copyrighted. For example, for copyright, your work has to be original and fixed before you can say you have a copyright over your work. So why IP? It gives you ownership. It gives you the opportunity to monopolize the market for that period of time. So I don't know if most of us were born when we were using big biro. In those days, you only see big biro as the only biro and no other biro. So there was a time this biro Eleganza was trying to come to the market, and Big had to tell them that, oh no, you guys, you are infringing our patents, and they had to step back, because for that 20 years, Big as the sorry, Big as the ownership of that patent. So Eleganza cannot do anything without the permission of Big. So that's what the intellectual property does for you. So now let's relate it with business. Relating it to business, we are saying, okay, fine, I'm doing a particular business. Maybe I'm a fashion designer. I have a brand name. What exactly can you protect it as a fashion designer? Your brand name, the design of your clothing, that the aesthetic design as well. Probably you need to sketch out something before you produce that clothes. The sketch will be protected by copyright. When you now produce that clothes and is now a clothes that you can put on, and you have any original design on it, that design can be protected by industrial design. Then the name you want to give that clothes, some people name their clothing maybe Alake something, or they just give it a particular name. So those names can also be trademarked. So it's not limited to only trademark. Businesses can even have patents as long as you have an element of patent in your business. So I'm going to use the example for Coca-Cola. So yeah, you can see this Coca-Cola brands. We have all of these names, they are protected on its own. Coca-Cola, the Fanta has its own trademark, and you can see the bottles, they keep improving on the bottles. So these bottles now, it is just the shape. The bottles can either be protected by trademark or by industrial design, because trademark also protects shape. I know I mentioned that industrial design protects the aesthetics, and these bottles, the way they are is aesthetic. However, trademark also protects the shape of a product. So the bottles can either be protected by industrial design or by trademark. Now, when it comes to patents, patent protect inventions, but Coca-Cola doesn't have any invention. They don't have any invention. What Coca-Cola has is trade secrets. That is the recipe to how Coca-Cola tastes the way Coca-Cola is. And that recipe, they've been using that trade secret for about more than 100 years, and they are still in the market. So that is why you have to keep your trade secrets confidential, because if you don't keep it confidential, and probably your staff or somebody knows about your trade secret and tell somebody else, then those people will be producing the same thing in the market, and you probably might have a lower sales because they already know what the line is you are doing. So you have to protect your trade secrets. Now, how can you protect your trade secrets? You can either do the non-disclosure agreement, that's the NDA, or non-compete clause. So the non-disclosure agreement will say something like, okay, I have disclosed this idea to you, and you cannot disclose it to somebody else, or you cannot use it without my permission. So that way, it gives you a particular protection. Then the last one, we'll talk about the benefits of IP to business. So it individualizes and distinguishes your business and its products from that of a competitor. It avoids the risk of losing your own valuable information. So imagine you've been working on a project for, say, 3 months, and before you know it, you can see somebody else is already working on that same project, and probably the person went ahead to trademark or copyright it. What this means is that you are going to lose the ownership because you didn't do anything about owning it. So the person that actually protected it will own it. Meanwhile, you that have been working on it for how many years, you don't have any protection to that. I don't know if you guys saw something about 38 calling out a particular person using his idea. So it was like he told this person about his idea, and the person bought the person was on board with the idea, but before he knew it, the person went ahead to put the idea to life. But the issue is 38 does not have any protection because the idea was not expressed and it was not fixed. So ideas in our head, they are not protected until we express them and fix them in a tangible form. It is the expression of that idea that is protected, not the idea itself. So if you say you have an idea and somebody stole it, you have to ask yourself, was that idea fixed? And was it original? Was it fixed? Did you express it? Before you can actually talk about copyright protection. So intellectual property increase visibility, attractiveness, and the value of the product in the market. It avoids the risk of unknowingly using third-party proprietary content. It protects innovative products and services, and it creates new sources of revenue should you desire to license your goods or services out to third parties. So what is it saying is that fine, your intellectual property can actually make money for you. So imagine you have a very good trademark or a brand name that you've trademarked, and a third party actually wants to use your trademark maybe on their merchandise, on their clothes or something else. You can actually license that right to the third party to use it, and that will bring money for you. So you can always make money from your intellectual property. To round up, I'm going to give us like the life cycle of intellectual property. So before you can actually say you have an IP, number one, you have to create it. Without creation, there's nothing to protect. You have to create what exactly it is you want to protect. And by creation means you have to like express it, put it in a tangible form, or just put it somewhere where people can see it. So once you create it, then you have to protect. How do you protect? You protect by probably registering the work. Now, once you've registered this work, what else do you need to do? You need to police it, because you are the first police of your own intellectual property. Nobody is going to do the job for you unless you take the bull by the horn. So you have to police it to be sure that nobody is actually using your brand name or your patent or your copyright without your permission. Let's not assume why policing it. You saw someone that was using your IP. What do you need to do? You need to enforce that right. You need to enforce the right by, probably sending a cease and desist letter, and the person did not respond. You can probably go to court, but just make sure you are enforcing your rights. Once you enforce that right, what else do you need to do? You need to manage your IP. How do you manage it? You have to like keep on using it, or you keep renewing it. For example, I've trademark lasts for the first 7 years. So for that first 7 years, you don't have to do anything. But on the 7th year, you have to pay for renewal. And that is how you keep maintaining your trademark. Now you need to use it. If you don't use it for a particular period of time, it can be taken off the record and somebody else can actually use it. So those are the life cycle of intellectual property. And I think that brings us to the conclusion part that says intellectual property is critical to fostering innovation, and without proper protection of ideas, businesses, and individuals would not reap the full benefits of their invention, and thus would focus less on research and development. Similarly, artists would not be able to be compensated for their creations, and cultural versatility would suffer as a result of that. So that brings us to the end of my presentation. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Miss. Thank you very much, Ms. Shakara. That was very amazing, and I'm certain that the mentees have learned a lot. So at this point, I'm just going to invite while Ms. Shakara was speaking, Ms. Regina joined the call. Welcome on board, Ma. Good evening, Ma. Over to you, Ma.
Thank you very much. Thank you also, Ms. Shikurat. I think that she has actually discussed everything. Whatever it is will just be a repetition. So let me just say one or two things.
All right, Ma.
Can I just go on?
Yes, please go ahead, Ma.
Yes, so IP for creatives, and then at the end of the day, if the mentees have any questions, I'm open to take any questions at all. IP for creative and inventors. Just to say in a few minutes or seconds that creative, as we may have noticed, are persons that create new things, persons that create. And then inventors are people that invent. That is just the general definition of it. And then we also know that, Shukrat has actually explained everything in IP. So I'm just going to do a general summary so that we can proceed fast. And I'm open to taking any question. Then inventors, there are two major laws here. The copyright is very important for creatives, and then the Patent and Designs Act is very important for inventors. And then the Trademarks Act is important for both creatives and inventors. So for creatives, you want to know how best to protect your creative ideas. And by that, we're talking about the literary work, the artistic work, the musical work, and the others. Then we also know that copyright law, as it is in the news right now, is the most progressive of all the IP laws in Nigeria. We know that on the 17th of February, the President of Nigeria, President Muhammadu Buhari, assented into law the Copyright Act, which is all over the news, and which effectively came to being and became effective on same day. That is the 17th day of February 2022. And then yes, that will be that for me. IP is very important for creatives and inventors. It's important that creatives and inventors and business persons generally take their IP, intellectual property rights, very seriously. Thank you. Please, if you have any questions, you can ask.
All right, Ma. Thank you very much. We'll have a Q&A session for you. Thank you very much, Ms. Regina. That was very succinct and enlightening. Okay, so while we're waiting for the other mentors to join the call, we're just going to have a quick picture time with our mentors. So please, all mentees are expected to turn on their cameras so that we can take a quick picture with our mentors, and then we'll proceed to the presentation and the Q&A session. So could everybody please just turn on their camera and smile? I believe I believe it's the same is taking the picture, but you can also do a screenshot because I expect you all to share your experience from today's mentorship program on LinkedIn, Facebook, and I hope you would tag, Jiipcc as well as the mentors who have spoken, Ms. Shukrat and Ms. Regina. So please do well to do your screenshots and take the picture. So, Mr. Hussein, once you're done with the picture, you let us know so that we can move on to the next stage.
Yeah, I'm done.
Oh, beautiful, beautiful. Thank you very much. Thank you very much for that. All right, so at this point in time, we're going to have the presentation from our presenters. Each presenter has 7 minutes. So I'm going to call on the first presenter to make their presentation. So please, you have 7 minutes to begin your presentation. Over to you, please.
Presenter number 1, we are calling on you. If you're on the call, please, you can start your presentation and share your screen. Okay, if presenter number 1 is not available, presenter number 2 can step in, and maybe presenter number 1 will present afterwards, please. Someone should answer me, please. Can you all hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you, Mr. Hussein. We're waiting for the presenter to begin their presentation.
Any presenter on the call, please indicate.
Yes, I'm available.
All right.
Thank you.
Yes.
So please kindly begin your presentation, and you can share your screen. So while the presentation is going on, please, if you do have any questions for what our mentors have said so far, kindly indicate them in the chat and they will be addressed in due time. Thank you very much. So Boluwatito, you have 7 minutes for your presentation.
All right, thank you. Good afternoon. My name is Boluwatito. I am representing Group 1, and we're discussing intellectual property for business. So in this presentation, we're talking about the various forms of intellectual property and how they affect businesses. Ms. Shukrat has explained why intellectual property is important for businesses. So I'll just be going straight to the forms of intellectual property that we have: and patent, trademark, copyright, industrial design. This is not all. And I'll be talking about how it affects businesses and example cases of how businesses have profited from these forms of intellectual property. So first, Okay, definition of intellectual property. Intellectual property, it deals with laws. Intellectual property law deals with laws that protect and enforce rights of creators. So I will just go straight to the forms, like I said. So the first one we're talking about is patent. And a patent is a license granted by the government to protect the work of a creator. Patent is used by businesses to protect their creation so that unauthorized third party would not make use of it and make profits from their creation without permission. And why do businesses need to register their patents? So a business holder should register their patent, like we said, to protect it from use from other businesses or other individuals, and also to be able to enforce their patent rights within the country where they are. So an example of a business that registered its patents and gained revenue is Iowa Textile PLC and Fintech Limited. Am I audible?
Yes,
Okay, all right. So in this case, the plaintiff, that is Iowa Textiles PLC, instituted an action for infringement of his registered patent in respect of a method and apparatus of producing textile materials. So the business produced textile materials and they brought an action for infringement of his registered patent, meaning they had registered their patent, which was like a method and apparatus that they used to produce textile materials. So they claimed for reliefs, perpetual injunction, and general damages against Fintech Limited for using their patents without permission. So at the end, the learned trial judge ascended to all the reliefs claimed by the plaintiff. Another example is a business that did not register its patent and lost revenue is Short UK Limited and Werit UK Limited. So in this case, the plaintiff did not register their patent, so they could not, they lost revenue because as at the time, they registered it later, but they could not claim relief for the time they had not registered the patent and the other company used the patent. So moving on. The next form of intellectual property is trademark. So like we've heard, trademark is any sign, combination used to distinguish the goods or services offered by one company. And so a trademark must be distinctive and not so why do businesses need to register their trademark? It builds trust between businesses and their customer base. Also to get a trademark known and respected. And also once it is protected, once registered, the owner can prohibit others from using it. Examples of companies that protected their trademarks, Right Food, in the case of Right Food and Predator Energy Drink and Coca-Cola versus Mamunda Bev Nigeria Limited. Like we've heard about Coca-Cola. Coca-Cola registered their trademark and they've been profiting off this, like the registration of their trademark. The next the next form is industrial design. So industrial design, like we've heard, industrial design basically deal with aesthetics, and Section 12 of the Patent and Design Act defines industrial design describes the nature of industrial design as any combination of lines or colors or both, or any three-dimensional form, whether or not associated with colors, is an industrial design. And if it is intended by the creator to be used as a model or pattern to be multiplied by industrial process, and it's not intended solely to obtain a technical result. An example, why businesses need to register their industrial design: to prevent unauthorized imitation by third parties. For example, if they want to use it as a model for other, I believe fashion brands, if they want to use, like, if they have an industrial design and they want to replicate it in large quantities, they have to register their industrial design to prevent other parties from imitating their designs, and also to facilitate marketing and commercialization of the product. It's important to note that industrial design rights can be sold or licensed, which will in turn generate revenue for the owner and the economy through payments. We'll talk about that when we are talking about IP licensing later on. An example of a business that registered and gained revenue is Coca-Cola. The Coca-Cola contour bottle, which is recognized by everybody, is used on a daily basis. It's a form of industrial design that is registered and is used on a daily basis to generate revenue. You can see the different Coca-Cola bottles over the years, and this is a form of industrial design that Coca-Cola benefits from. Yeah. Okay, now we're talking about so now we're moving on to IP licensing. Yes. So IP licensing is an agreement where the intellectual property holder allows for the use of his intellectual property rights on agreed terms. So two companies come together and the owner of an intellectual property would allow the other company to make use of it on agreed terms. An example of such successful licensing deals is between Apple and Qualcomm, Nestle and Starbucks. There are companies that have benefited from IP licensing. With Nestle and Starbucks in 2018, Nestle and Starbucks entered a licensing deal that allowed Nestle to sell Starbucks branded coffee products in grocery stores and other retail outlets. And as part of this agreement, Nestle paid Starbucks for right use of its intellectual property. The example of Apple and Qualcomm, Apple paid Qualcomm for the use of Apple paid Qualcomm to use some of its technological services and products. So moving on. The next thing we're talking about is IP franchising. This is a business arrangement where the owner of a business allows for the operation of a business by a third party using the name, style, and appearance of his business by the franchisee. So basically, a business allows a third party to use his name, style, and appearance of his business. Example of franchise I've seen foreign companies coming to open, should I say branches, not branch, but like opening a franchise that's owned by a third party. They allow them to use their name, they allow them to use the style for the business. Example is Miniso in Nigeria and Burger King, businesses like that. Okay. Example is another example is the McDonald's Corporation. That's what we have here. So for the McDonald's Corporation, the company's trademark has been licensed to thousands of franchisees around the world who operate their own McDonald's restaurants under the McDonald's brand. So they use the McDonald's name. Basically, they use the they use the name, style, and appearance of McDonald's for their own business, but it's owned by a different third party. Okay, moving on, IP export. Businesses today no longer just ship goods to foreign countries. Innovation, creativity, and branding add a much larger amount to the value of their trade than before. Countries that have a lot of IP abroad try to defend their domestic business interests by asking other governments to deliver effective rules or enforcement of IP rules in their country. The next point is IP management. So IP management is the system that helps to manage intangible products such as creations of the minds and human intelligence, basically intellectual property products. The system comes into play when businesses need to effectively develop a system to track and record IP assets in a streamlined manner. A company needs to know, okay, their IP assets and to record it, basically to know their assets. So this is where IP management comes in. The next point is IP assessment and valuation. So this is a process of auditing performed companies and individuals to determine the potential value of IP assets. Like I said in IP management, they take records of their IP assets. IP assessment and valuation is they are auditing the companies to know the potential value of their IP asset. They are knowing they want to know the value of this IP asset, how much it is worth, and things like that. It also involves examining if IP assets are being properly utilized, as well as to develop strategies that can help improve their competitive advantage in future. So a case that highlights the importance of IP valuation is, for example, in a merger. Before two companies decide to merge, or one company decides to acquire another company, they do IP valuation to know like the value of the IP assets of the company they are acquiring, and to know what and what to retain. For example, in a merger, to know what and what to retain. An example is in Yodala and Konga, the acquisition in 2018. So Yodala acquired, both of them are online e-commerce businesses. I know we're all familiar with Konga. They are both online e-commerce businesses, but I don't really know Yodala. So Yodala was the acquiring party in this case, but it adopted the brand name of Konga due to the inherent value of the brand name. Konga is very popular. So after seeing the value of that name, is a trademark name. Konga is a trademark name. So seeing the value of that name, they decided to retain the name Konga. Yeah, Konga, after seeing the potential value of the assets. Another example is Access and Diamond Bank. And the example is in the retention of the Diamond Bank logo. Like the Access and the Diamond Bank logo, they merged the logo together to let people still see that Diamond Bank is a part of Access Bank, probably because of the potential value of the Diamond Bank logo and how it would affect the customers, how the customers take the measure of Access and Diamond Bank. So we're moving on. The next point is copyright. So before I go on, this is an error. The Copyright Act is now the Copyright Act of 2002. It's oh my God, Copyright Act of 2022. Hello, am I? Hello?
Yes, we can hear you. So, but you just have 2 minutes to round up the presentation.
Okay, all right. I will be done now. So copyright is a legal term describing ownership of the right to use and distribution of certain works of creative expression in books, videos, motion pictures, musical composition, software programs, and things like that. So protection of copyrighted work. The works that can be copyrighted include literary works, dramatic work, musical work, and artistic work. And we have different examples under these forms or works. So an example of a business that gained revenue from their copyrighted work is Disney. So a major chunk of Disney's profit stems from their copyright portfolio that the company generates from the get-go, from scripts to characters, animation style. The famous, for example, the famous Mickey Mouse character, the logo. So it's a way that they profited off their copyrighted work. And there was a case in 1989 where Disney sued the Academy of Arts and Science for using the portrayal of Snow White in an opening number for academic awards telecast, as the character is both trademarked and copyrighted by Disney. So this is an example of where a business benefited from protecting their copyrighted work. Moving on, this is the copyright sign. They see, yeah, trade secrets. Okay, sorry. Okay, I'm on the last point now. Trade secrets and confidential information. So trade secrets are, I think when we hear trade secrets, the example that comes to mind is Coca-Cola and Coca-Cola. So trade secrets and confidential information. Trade secrets are intellectual property rights on confidential information which may be sold or licensed. It's a type of commercially valuable confidential information that gives the owner a competitive advantage to other businesses. So as a business, having your trade secrets and making it enforceable will give you a competitive advantage among other business owners and other businesses. confidential information is knowledge of facts, not in the public domain, but facts for their own advantage. So Coca-Cola is an example of a company that opted for trade secrets to safeguard their recipe instead of patent registration to protect their business. And this gives them an edge over their competitors. That is the end. Thank you so much.
All right, thank you very much, Oluwatito, for that amazing presentation. Can the second presenter please begin presentation? Is the second presenter on call? I don't know. Is the second presenter on call? Okay, I don't think presenter number 2.
Presenter number 2 is Jiipcc God Success. I don't know if we have a backup presenter for that group. You can also step up.
Yes, please. Who is the backup presenter for the next group?
And the group leader is Abola Sarah. I'm trying to see if she's on the call. Abola Sarah, I don't know if you can be the backup presenter on behalf of your missing presenter for your group. Can you hear me, Abola Sarah?
Sarah, can you hear us?
I think we should just proceed to.
Okay, so I think we'll just move on with the order of events. While the presenter number 1 was presenting for Group 1, Oluwatito, we had one of our mentors, Mr. Max Ekongbe, join us. Good evening, sir. Welcome to today's session. We're excited to hear from you. And at this point, I'll just hand over to you to comment on the presentation and the topic for today's mentorship program in 10 minutes. Over to you, Mr. Mark. Welcome on board.
Okay, yes. Thank you all. Hope you can hear me.
Yes, I can hear you, Mr. Mark. It's an absolute pleasure to see you.
Oh, same here. Thank you very much. My apologies, I joined quite late. Unfortunately, I was at an event and it took a little bit longer than I had earlier scheduled. Can you still hear me?
Yes, we can see you. You can go ahead. We can hear you.
Okay. Sorry, I think I hit the password in the network. But yeah, so just to congratulate the mentees. Of course, this is the first session because I understood last week's session couldn't hold. So this is the first for this cohort of the Jiipcc mentorship. So just to congratulate all the mentees and to let you know that I believe you have joined this program. I believe will make a difference in your career because getting exposed to IT of your career, will really help you in terms of quickly getting a bearing of what a career in IT practice be like. And then, of course, it's even more important that you are joining an World IT. Yesterday, of course, before that 26th of World IT. So you're actually joining or starting your IT journey at an opportune moment. So in terms of the actual presentations themselves, I see that yes, we have looked at some of the basics, and I'm quite happy with the level of preparation I saw, at least in the presentations I saw. In terms of I was happy that you were able to explain some of these difficult IT concepts in such a brief amount of time. And the reason why that is important is that IT itself is almost an abstract concept because it's intangible in the first place. So that already makes it concept or a topic that is not very easy to appreciate and understand. So what has happened, unfortunately, is that in the Nigerian context and in many other countries, IT has not been appreciated as well as it should be by business people and regular everyday people. That is why Nigerians sometimes, unfortunately, do not really think it's a big deal when the person has committed IT infringement. So you hear things like, skill person, when the person is complaining that there's been appropriation or infringement on his copyright or his trademark or any other IP asset. People don't seem to think it's such a huge deal. So I give the example always that if people hear, for instance, that a professor in university stole the student's iPhone or a laptop, for instance, people will be afraid. How could the professor steal? But nobody seems to think it's a big deal when you hear things like the professor just takes the research work of a student to publish his book without acknowledging where he got that from. Because the research work of the students actually contains their own copyright and he has appropriated it. What he has done is no less than if he stole a physical item from them. But because we are able to easily appreciate physical items, we would be outraged to hear that the professor did that, but not outraged to hear the professor has done, theft of intellectual property just because the intellectual property copyright trademark patents are not tangible things we can see and touch with our hands. But yet, imagine the value that IT has. So, give yourself a practical example, for instance. I mean, if you watch a lot of these makers, Oga Sabi, Saoma, and all these other guys, you hear how much these guys make, and you compare to who sells critical tangible things, for instance, somebody who owns it, for instance, if you talk that these guys make a lot more from their intellectual property, from their copyright, from their skits and their videos that they put out there much more than trade and physical goods make. So it just tells you that there's so much value in lots of IP that unfortunately we as an economy don't really understand and are not benefiting much from. That is why as you progress in your GIP method, you will of course come to look more closely at one of the intellectual property types, geographic indications. I believe one of the group touched on geographic indication or that a group that have not represented. But GIS essentially is another type of intellectual property that protects what essentially is the origin or mark that identify the origin of goods and services, and that because of their origin or where they come from, it confers unique qualities on them. So, for instance, using the most colloquial one, Ijebu Gari, we know that special type of Gari that comes from Ijebu, and it's because of the unique way that Gari is prepared by the people in that locality that gives that unique look and feel. Of course, one of the most popular GIs globally is champagne from France. It's a type of sparkling bubbly wine. Most people think champagne is a class A category of wine of wine. It's not. It's actually about specific wine produced under specific conditions in specific part of France. So you find out that Nigeria sells a commodity, crude oil. France doesn't have any commodity itself. But France makes more money from the sale of champagne and wine and spirits than Nigeria makes from the sale of crude oil. And why is that? Because they have a unique intellectual property that protects. You cannot, for instance, produce what looks like champagne, tastes like champagne in Nigeria and call it champagne. They will sue you. They have pressure groups all over internationally that will blockade and sanction your goods so that it's not infringed on their IP. It just shows you how important, that intellectual property, the word champagne, is the economy of France. So if African countries don't appreciate this little all things that look little, then part of the reason why our economy is strong. We have all the natural resources, yet countries that don't have as much natural resources to control all the wealth of the world, and we are always borrowing money from them. So I've said this just to give a broad view and the importance of IT. Of course, as we continue this journey on this mentorship, we will of course get to engage at a high level with some of these concepts I've just tried to make reference at this point. So I think at this point,
Okay, I think we've lost Mr. Marks due to network. So we're just going to let the other mentors comment on the presentation before we go to the Q&A session. So, Ms. Amusa, could you please comment on the presentation? Then Ms. Regina will comment, and then we will proceed to our Q&A session. So over to you, Ms. Shikarat.
Okay, the job well done quite well. I'm not according to her definition, she said, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you, ma, but your line is breaking. We can hear you.
Okay, is it better this way?
Yes, it's better now.
Okay. So I was talking about patents. The first presenter mentioned something of patents. I would just like to clarify. So according to her definition, she said patents is a license given by the government. Okay. So I would like to correct that definition. Like, patent is not a license given by the government. Patent is an exclusive right granted for an invention. So it's more like a trade by barter between the inventor and the government. So you are giving, government is giving you 20 years protection to disclose the invention to the government.
Okay, I think Mr. Musa is also experiencing network issues.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, we lost it for a while, ma, but we can hear you now.
Okay, so where did I stop? Was it at copyright or at patent?
At patent, that it's an exclusive right for an invention.
Okay, I was saying that patent is an exclusive right granted for an invention. So it is not a license given by the government. So it's more like a trade by barter between the inventor and the government. So the inventor is giving the government a patent invention that has value and is economically viable, while the government in return is giving the inventor 20 years protection period to be able to like monopolize, to disclose that invention, so that put out the invention and anybody can use the invention for the benefit of the economy. So it's like more like a trade by barter and a win-win situation for both the inventor and the government, and not a license. And I said the duration period is for 20 years. Then for copyright, she mentioned, or she listed the works that are copyrighted, and she listed literary work, dramatic work, musical work, and artistic work. So I'm just going to add that dramatic work can also be categorized under audiovisual works. So it is more of literary work, audiovisual work, musical work, artistic, in my addition. Thank you.
Hello, Ms. Amasa, are you still there?
Yes,
Okay,
I rounded
yes.
up already.
Yes, I heard you. Thank you very much, ma. Thank you so much, ma.
Okay.
Okay, so while Ms. Amasa was speaking, we had our fourth mentor for today join us. We had Ms. Nevena Talk join us. Good evening. Good evening, ma. Good evening, Ms. Torque. Are you with us? Can you hear me?
Yes, I'm talking, but it was mute. How are you?
Oh, beautiful. Welcome to today's session, right? An
Thank
absolute
you.
pleasure
Nice to
have
meet you
you.
all.
Thank
I'm so
you.
nice
Thank
to
you.
join this day.
Thank you very much, Ma. We would love to get your insight on the topic.
Yeah, the topics are very, very interesting, especially the fashion, because I'm very interested already in the fashion, and I have an idea about many of these stories, especially of Yves Saint Laurent and Alain Louboutin, and all of these. I already follow these topics on LinkedIn and many articles. So I realized that the students had made a lot of efforts to um, for this research and to collect all these details, and also about technology. You know, there is many topics. It was fashion, I remember, and just a minute, I will open the presentation to remember it, because it was very interesting also. And there is another, I think, presentation. Just a minute. I like it also. Yeah. It was the also the IP class. Yes. It was concerning the definitions of intellectual property, like patents, copyright, trademarks, and robots also, and all updates of technology. So, but I think maybe the franchising need more details. There is some topics which need more details, you know. So we can discuss this today or next session. You know this? Hello?
Yes, ma. That's fine.
Yeah. And some topics need to be more rich, you know, in details, especially the licensing and the franchising, which is very important topics in trademarks. Yeah.
Yes, ma'am.
Concerning the other presentation.
All right.
Yes.
Thank you very much, Ms. Talk.
No, I'm just opening the other presentation to remember about inventors.
Okay.
Yes, and
okay.
art, so visual dance. It's very interesting. Especially this presentation is very interesting, because I think that the art in general, like music, dance, singing, all of this, it's the soft power in all communities. You know, is the most softer power in all communities, which have a power which is at the same time it's as asked you start the video, yeah, because I'm hello, you hear me? Hello?
Yes, where were you, Ms. Talk? Where were you?
Yeah, okay. So it's my point of view, I think it's right, maybe more than 80% that the art, especially the art, and all fields of the art, is the soft power in all communities, and the art has power which is can be included in everything in our life with a more and very easy way, and at the same time it has a big power and how to say and influence on people. You know, you understand my point? There is big influence of the art on communities.
Yes,
which is very soft, which is very soft way to influence people. You understand my point of view? It's powerful, but it's very soft at the same time. And art has a very powerful and influence on people and communities if you use it by the good way and best method, you know. You understand this? Or like movies, like singers, like dancing, all of these are soft methods, but they have big influence on people and communities. And as we as communities are advanced and encouraging children and families and people in general in arts, in all kind of arts, drawing, anything, this point and this art will influence, and this community will become more and more developed and open to life, you know, and can face more the other, you know, especially for developing countries. They will help them, this art, to be more developed and more facing the other developed countries, and the technologies, all the updates, you know, this. So so that as more as we are advancing in art, as more as our communities, I'm talking about Africa, about Asia, about most of these countries, they will be more advanced, and culture also, because art is culture, and it's equal to culture. So I saw this point is very important, and the students in this presentation, I think they talk about most of the art fields, you know, like visual arts, dancing, fashion, music, film, software programs also. So it's very broadcast, comedy. I think most of them, maybe drawings also we can add it. So it's very interesting, and I like it very much. I like very much, and I hope they developing this in reality, you know, in community, in life, not just presentation, you know. They apply this in life. I think this is very, very important point. Yeah. That's all.
All right, thank you very much, Ms. Nav, for that comment on the topic and the presentation. Thank you very much. So we'd like to hear from Ms. Regina, her comment on the presentation by the presenter. Ms. Regina, over to you.
Thank you very much. And thank you to the presenter also. She did a very good job. I love the fact that she used a lot of case law to drive home her points. And there were vivid examples that she used. So she could have used more examples. I noticed that there are examples in some of the categories of IP rights that she explained, and for some, she just went straight to the point to give us the, maybe we'll say because of the time, but on the slide, we see that we had just the definition of the particular category of copyright, IP. And also to the point that Chukwurat mentioned earlier, patent is not a license. It's an exclusive right granted to the patentee or to the applicant. And then the patentee can then grant a license to a third party. So is the patentee the owner of the patent? That is the person that was granted the exclusive rights to exploit the patent by a particular government. You can grant a license to a third party to exploit that patent. And then the license could be exclusive or non-exclusive. I guess we understand what exclusive and non-exclusive is, but just to explain, exclusive is when you give license to a party, excluding every other person. And then non-exclusive, you can give that same license or similar to one or two other persons to exploit the patent. And then I love the fact that she quickly corrected the Copyright Act, the reference to the copyright law, that is the current one. I saw that in the slide, it was the old one, but she has now corrected it. The Copyright Act was signed on the 17th of March, 2023, but it is addressed as the Copyright Act of 2022. And I expected that since we are talking about IP, that there'll be more discussion on the Copyright Act, at least one or two sections, because that is what is on the lips of copyright practitioners today, currently. So I expected to have a more review on the Copyright Act. There are many innovative provisions in that particular law. So we advised, that is mentee, now to study that act. If you study it and understand it, it will go a long way in helping your practice as an IP practitioner, because it's a very progressive legislation. So I also noticed that though maybe it could be attributed to the time, the time not being enough for the presenter, the topic seemed to be very broad. So this is it's more like a suggestion to the organizers of this program. If you can limit the topic for each group so that they can do justice to what they are assigned to. For this particular presenter, it seemed that her topic was so broad within the time frame that she was given, so she struggled to do justice to the topic. Maybe she just highlighted the definition, just maybe perhaps she had more explanation that she could have given. Research and the presentation by the presenter. Yeah, thank you, and keep up the good work.
All right, thank you very much, Ms. Regina, for that feedback. I'm certain that the mentees have taken note of all these corrections and comments made by our mentors. Okay, so we're going to move straight ahead into the Q&A session. If you have any question as a mentee that you seek to ask, please kindly indicate them in the chat box, or you use the raise a hand icon to ask the questions. But there are some questions that we have for our mentors, and I'm just going to take them. The first question is addressed to Ms. Amusa. So the question is, how do innovators in the engineering industry, communications industry, pharmaceutical industry, tech space use intellectual property? Did you get the question, Ms. Shukaras?
No, I didn't. My network was going on and off. I just joined back. What was the question, please?
Okay. So the question I have for you is, how do innovators in the engineering, communications, pharmaceutical, and tech industry make use of intellectual property?
Okay, so I'm going to say that it depends on whatever it is they've created. Like, for example, in the pharmaceuticals now, when you create a drug that actually solves a particular problem, or maybe an improvement of what has been on ground before, and if the drug is actually new, have an inventive step and industrially applicable, that drug will part for patent protection. However, if that drug have a particular name that you want to name the drug, then the name can actually be trademarked. If you now have maybe a particular creative ad that you use in advertising the drug, or maybe your website, they have a particular website, the source code of that website are protected by patents. If they have confidential information about their clients or whatever gives them competitive edge, those information can be kept as trade secrets. So it depends on the elements found in that industry or in that field. That's what you determine what exactly it is that can pass for intellectual property protection. I hope I answered the question.
Yes, absolutely, Ma. Thank you very much. So I don't know, the next question is, yes, thank you very much, Ms. Shikert. The next question is directed to Ms. Tork. Yes. So the question I have for you is there a distinction between IP assessment and IP valuation?
Yes, I think there is a difference. Sure. The assessment is like a test. Some questions that we put it to validate the IP, the intellectual property of, for example, how to measure the intellectual property in special patent, for example. How to measure the intellectual property in this company, for example, there is trademark, logo, copyright, all of these assets. Okay. However, the IP valuation, okay, it's one of the main steps that we should take during our business and during the intellectual property commercialization, which we make in the market. And I have special experience in this valuation, especially because there is steps of the IP cost, the IP marketing, and the IP valuation. It's a general valuation of the IP. However, the assessment is specialized in a special company or SMEs or any other organization. However, the evaluation, it would be through the market to make evaluation concerning product, the intellectual property in a special product in the market. That's my question. Yeah. Change, okay. Yes?
Yes, Ms. Tork. Yeah,
yes.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
I can hear you. Thank you very much, ma'am.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so there's a question from Esther Nicholas, and I'm just going to direct question to Ms. Regina. She said, my question is on patent and how it really works. Using the example of BIC as a patent, does that mean that no other writing material, which is like a biro, would come into the market till after 20 years of BIC's patent registration? Ms. Regina, did you get the question?
Yes, I'm seeing on the chat box.
Yes.
So I understand that it's big. That is the biro that a biro produced by a particular company.
Yes,
so, and they have a patent for the process.
Yes.
So she's saying, and does it mean that no other writing material biro could come into the market? No, I think that the idea of patent is you're protecting your invention. That is what is unique about your invention. It doesn't mean that there cannot be any other biro in the market, but that biro would not be produced in the same or by the same process through which the company that produced BIC produced theirs. And if they have a design protection, that other biro or biro would not use the same design. So it doesn't mean that. And then I'm thinking that what she's asking is, so if they have a patent for 20 years, does it mean that no other biro can come into the market? So it doesn't mean, what it means is you cannot use their patented invention. So under the patent, so to get the grant, patent grants, there are things that document requirements. And one of the requirements is a patent claim. So you have to write down your claims in such a way that the examiner at the patent office would be able to understand what is new, what is the innovative in your patent. And if there is nothing new in your patent, apologies, your patent will not be granted. You will not be granted a patent. So there has to be something new, and it is the new thing that you're applying for a patent. And it's interesting to know that there are a few things that are new in the world as we are. There are a few things, new ideas. So people basically build on existing things. And it's your addition to what is already in place, your improvements, that you go to patent. And I know that if we go to the market today, we see a lot of different types of and designs of biro. Just the factor differentiating the big products and other types of biro is the uniqueness in their production process, and also their industrial design, which is very important to them. I don't see any other biro with that big design. I don't know if that explains your question.
Yes, it absolutely does, ma'am. Thank you very much, ma'am. Okay, so the last question that we have for today's session is directed to Mr. Max. Mr. Max, I don't know if you're still with us, but there's a question that we barely see intellectual property cases in the fashion industry. So the question is, how do we apply the protection of intellectual property rights in the Nigerian fashion industry? Mr. Max, are you there?
Yes, sorry, I didn't get the question.
Oh, no problem, sir. So the question is, we barely see intellectual property cases in the fashion industry. So how do we apply protection of intellectual property rights in the Nigerian fashion industry?
Okay, thank you. Yeah, that's an interesting question and actually has somewhat of a direct answer. The reason why I don't see too many IP disputes in the fashion industry because fashion is seasonal. So typically, by the time you want to start fighting on the fact that someone has appropriated perhaps your design, that design is already out of season. So more often than not, you find out that, for instance, there's a whole body of IP work about the fast fashion. So in some jurisdictions, like in the UK, for instance, they have a law that allows for what they call unregistered design rights. So a lot of people in the fashion industry use that because it allows them the flexibility. You have not gone through the whole length requirements of it. Because you want to start registering every unique design you come out with in terms of the fashion outfit. By the time you are done with the season and all, maybe the next season has come, that has phased out. So you might, because of the speed of that industry, not see too many cases going to full blown dispute. But of course, that's not to say there are no disputes in the fashion industry. There are some disputes that are not directly on the fashion. So for instance, you have a lot of disputes. There's a popular First case where somebody put her likeness on t-shirt and took up the case. So you find those kinds of cases where essentially that case is not exactly copyright, but more of publicity rights and image rights. So you see those kinds of cases fashion industry. But largely, yes, and I would encourage person who have that question, just Google fast fashion and see some of the unique ways that people are trying to protect fashion because they understand that fashion has that very short time span that is still valid. And unlike patents where you can liquidate a patent case for 7 some products while we are in court and all, everybody has moved on from that particular design and has moved on to something else. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Marks. Thank you so much. I really do hope that that question has been answered. So we have just one more question in the group chat, and I'm going to direct the question to Ms. Shukrat. So Sarah is asking if registering your work, perhaps a book, is a precondition for copyright protection, or it receives copyright protection upon creating it. So is registration a precondition?
Okay, so when it comes to copyright, there's no formalities to copyright protection. So out of all the types of intellectual property, copyright is rated for IP that you don't necessarily have to register. As long as your work is original and fixed in a medium, you have an automatic copyright protection over that work. However, it is advisable for you to notify the Nigerian Copyright Authority. Now, it's not called registration. It's called notification. We are just trying to notify the commission that say, okay, see, I have created something original and I have fixated it one way. Just like, help me keep this work with you. So in case I have an infringing person infringing on my work, I can actually say that, okay, I've done something about it and bring up my certificate to prove ownership of that copyrighted work. So registration is not compulsory, but it is necessary. I hope that answers the question.
Yes, absolutely, it does. Okay, so that's all.
Can I just also add that?
Yes, please go ahead.
And the new Copyright Act, it is explicit. It was written there that there's no requirement for any formality. In fact, the new Copyright Act expressly stated that copyright in any work shall commence when the work is created or made. So it is express. I know that before now there were conflicting decisions as to the commencement of and the validity of the work that is not recorded with the Copyright Commission. But now the Act has settled that there's no requirement for registration, and that the work commences when the copyright in the work commences when the work is created. So it's still advised to notify the commission, but copyright in the work is at creation. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much, Ms. Regina, for that addition. And that's the end of the question Q&A session for today's mentorship program. And I really want to thank all our amazing mentors, Ms. Shukrat, Ms. Regina, Ms. Tork, and Mr. Max for taking out time out of their busy schedules to be with us today. We're grateful for your contribution to the knowledge of students who are interested in intellectual property. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Knowledge. We really appreciate you, and we look forward to future engagements with you. Thank you so much.
Thank
and
you.
To all the mentees who made out time for today's mentorship program, well done to you, and special well done to the presenter and the entire members of Group 1 who did their presentation today. And we hope that Group 2 would take notes and do better in future. Until the next session, keep doing the amazing things you do. Thank you so much, everybody. And thank you to Jiipcc for giving me the opportunity to anchor this program. I still remain Udo Victoria Moore, and it's an absolute pleasure doing this. Thank you so much. Bye, everybody. Do have a lovely evening rest. Bye.
Thank you. Thank you. Bye.